Morning, happy Tuesday, happy book review day. Today's book is one of my very favorite kinds of books, which is Who Ate the First Oyster? Um, and it's by Cody Cassidy. So this book doesn't obviously tell you, who actually ate the first oyster, but it creates the type of person who did and recreates the circumstances where that might have happened. And there are lots of other stories in there that are really interesting. So each chapter is kind of a different first. One of those is who created the first bow and arrow. Who was and in that story is also who was killed by the first bow and arrow, or injured by it at least. And one of my favorite parts about that story is that most things, when we look back prehistorically, um, have a basis in nature. We can look at um, flight and some of these things and go, oh, we see, obviously observing something else do that. We figured out how to find a path forward, and recreate it ourselves. In the case of the bow and arrow, that's an exception. There's no natural example of something behaving that way where you would bend and stretch and shoot in the manner that a bow and arrow does. And so the author, Cassidy, assumes that this probably happened as a result of play. Somebody fiddling around, maybe bending back a willow branch, maybe just kind of experimenting with a stringy kind of substance. And in fact, goes on to say that most things that are created that don't have a natural corollary come about as play. And so they begin as a toy and then they get adapted for other purposes. Um, Fireworks turning into, or gunpowder turning into fireworks, turning into rifles and bullets and that kind of thing is another example. And why I love this kind of book is, it really investigates and digs into some of these things that are overlooked and I don't think about. I don't necessarily think about who ate the first oyster, although often, I do wonder about some of the weird food things that we eat and take for granted. I mean, coffee is wildly popular, but if you know anything about coffee, like the coffee that comes off the tree does not taste like the coffee that goes in your mouth for drinking. And so I do wonder about, like, how did we get to the point where we're like, all right, we're going to pick this thing and we're going to dry it and we're going to roast it and then we're going to grind it and then we're going to pour hot water over it, but we're not going to drink the actual solid. We're only going to drink the water that comes out of it that's darker now, and that's what we're going to enjoy. And that's the kind of thing that Cassie's book does, is it tells the story of the circumstance, and documents as best we possibly can at this time who was there and who might have been the person that created um, that first bow and arrow or ate the first oyster or so on. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a good listen. I would definitely recommend Who Ate the First Oyster, Cody Cassidy. Bye. Have a good one.